Well, tell us a little about Eat Me, Drink Me.
Well, it's a very important record because it comes after a period in my life where I didn't want to make music anymore. I was very disappointed in what I thought the record industry was becoming, because it seemed to me that I was being treated or considered as some sort more of a product than a human being or an artist. And it wasn't a matter of me being arrogant or being a diva or whatever people want to say it. It was simply that I put my heart and soul into everything I do, and I felt like when people objectify it and talk about it in a way that is very insulting to me, I just felt like there was no need to do it anymore. And I felt like when I paint or if I want to make a movie, it's a whole different world. It's very different from music. But then I became into a really terrible place where I didn't know who I was or what I wanted to be, because now I know music is the center of my being. Whether I'm listening to it or making it, it's the most important thing to me. And I very fortunately wrote a song, and writing that song and playing it for someone and them feeling moved by it made me feel like this is what I should be doing, and I'm a fool for almost walking away from it. So that turned into a record. And it's not, everyone wants to consider it an album about my breakup or about my new romance, but it's really a record about my feelings. And it's the one thing I've never done. It's the thing I was always afraid to show, was my human emotions. So in that sense, it's the most important record to me that I've made.
Is that why it's, because it's way more down-tempo than the previous ones? It's like a lot of the heavier elements has been taken out of it. Is that...
It sounds...
Not that it's a bad thing.
No, I wasn't insulted by you saying that, but
okay.
It is not that it... I think it sounds like I felt.
Okay.
And I think that it took me realizing, because the year before making that record, I listened mostly to about 3 records. And it was Purple Rain, Diamond Dogs, and For Your Pleasure by Roxy Music. And those records sound nothing like Marilyn Manson. And the thing they have in common is they're very romantic and they're very emotional in a dark, strange way. And I realized that I had not accomplished my interpretation of that feeling. You know, I wasn't trying to make a record like those, but I didn't know that I had yet to make a record that would make me feel something. So when I listen to this record, and I'd never listen to my own albums, when I listen to this album, it makes me feel something. Sometimes it's really awful, and sometimes it's really good, but that's why it becomes the most important record to me. And the you know, it is strangely down-tempo in a way, and I think, you know, I obviously had a choice how I want to open my show. I opened my show with If I Was Your Vampire, the first song on the record, which is 6 minutes long, which is really stupid for someone to do. If you just think about, hey, let's open with the longest song you could possibly open with. But for me, I think that's exactly the way I wanted to open the show. The minute I wrote it, I said, this is going to be the way I open my show. And it sets the tone. And I'm happy that I was not afraid to do something like that.
It's a great record. It's totally different from everyone, from all the other records, but I think it's just totally great. I have to say that personally, the first time I heard it, I was like, dude, what's... Like, I thought it was weird for you to do something like that. I've been a fan forever, since the Spooky Kids. And so I put it away, and I waited a few months, took it back out, and I just heard it like a billion times, and now I just love it. It's so different. It is personal, and you can hear it. And I just love it. I just want to say that anyways.
Well, no, I think that the important thing is people always expect something from me to be shocking. And I've said from the beginning, look, I'm not trying to be shocking. If you want to be an artist of any sort, you have to be provocative. And the world is filled with a million voices. And if you want to be heard, you have to say it loud and you have to say it right. So that's the way I've always done it. And I got to the point where I didn't know what I could say anymore. I've said everything on Antichrist Superstar, on Hollywood. So I really have no desire to talk about politics and religion, because what I've said, finally, and I'm happy, the world is quite aware of. And if I even made one person aware of that, I'm happy. So I realized that the thing that could be the most, I suppose, inspiring or shocking or whatever you want to call it, to me, let alone to everyone else, would be to write about something that I haven't, which is my personal feelings. So when you say that you were surprised by it, that makes me happy.
I was.
Because I was surprised by it. It was the record that I didn't know I could make, and I did. And you love it or you don't. And I learned that from painting. When you paint something, people either love it or they don't. And it has nothing to do with who painted it. Mm-mm. Music is different because people like music sometimes because they're a fan and they're dedicated. But with art, it's different. And in some way, I made this record from learning about how people react to my paintings. So this record is something that is almost how I paint. I did it in a way where it's very simple. You like it or you don't. And you don't even have to know who made it. You just listen to it. And if it affects you, then that's good.
That's very interesting.
Good or bad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it affects you, that's all I want.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting that you evolve in that way. Like just making music the way you paint, kind of, right?
No, and I'm only saying this and looking back because at the time I was in such a bad place that I'm lucky, and I wouldn't say that the record was some sort of catharsis because it sounds cliche, but it was more than that. I wouldn't be alive if this record didn't exist, because this became the only way that I felt like I could be me. Because I was in a place where I didn't like being me. And I started to want to put my ideas somewhere else, into films and into painting. And I was running away from music because I was in a relationship where, regardless of whose fault it was, I was made to feel like being me wasn't good. So I almost quit music, and this record saved me. And that's why I love this record so much. And this record also made me know that I want to make a new record immediately. The minute this tour ends, I'm making a new record. And I'm going back to finally working on my film, which I would have done if it hadn't been for this record. But I'm still doing it, and I'm excited to do that too.
And that's Phantasmagoria.
Yes.
Yeah.